In this tutorial, we're going to cover resetters. Resetters are useful for multiple situations, but the one we will focus on for this example will be resetting a physical cube after it falls out of bounds. We've set a basic scene that has an intended play area and a physical cube. At the moment, if the cube falls out of the intended play area, it is lost forever. Let's fix that with resetters. Let's add a resettable object component to our physical cube so that we can call the appropriate functionality. If we have a specific transform we want to reset the object to, we can provide it here, but for now, let's just automatically generate the reset point by checking the box. To quickly test the functionality of a resettable object component, we can add an inward activator and take advantage of the debug do on event to check our setup. We'll add an on event and we'll call the resettable object reset object function and we'll test it out. We can see that the object comes to rest. If we move it and it falls, and we click our do on event debug, it resets the object back to its initial position. For more practical example, let's go to our GroBlocks menu and add an item ID trigger to our scene. For this item ID trigger, I'm going to change the sphere collider to a box collider, set it to isTrigger, and scale and position it so that it rests under our play area. This way, when our cube falls out of bounds, it'll hit our item ID trigger. As we covered in our triggers tutorial, the item ID trigger runs the on and off events of the outward activator on the parent object. So if we come to the outward activator of our item ID trigger, and on the on event, tell our physical cube reset object to reset object, then when this cube hits this item ID trigger, it will reset. As we know with item ID triggers, we're looking for an accepted item ID. In this case, it's any. So our physical cube then just needs an item ID component itself. Now that it has an item ID, it will trigger our item ID trigger, and the resettable object reset function will be called. Let's try that out now. As we can see, if we move the cube out of bounds, it will hit the item and trigger, run the reset event, and have its position reset automatically. Those are the basics of resettable objects. To learn more about GroKit Core, check out our other tutorials.